KC Venugopal.
Yes.
Sir, am I reading this correctly? You've mentioned how do you plan to find a way to make small PVPs more feasible? Because many believe that the benefits justify the work involved.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Narayan, you can answer it now.
Yes, sir. So beginning with the framing of the question, as you rightly pointed out, there is ambiguity. So if KC Venugopal could, get back to me later on about that, I will still go forward and give my answer. So when you seek for simplification, let me explain how the bidding documentation has never been difficult. So you just need to submit 8 documents. That is all that is required. And I'm pretty sure we as fellow parliamentarians know that this is not as unachievable of a task as Mr. Venugopal deems it to be. The Ministry of Finance published standardized bidding documents, which include model requests for the qualification, that is the RFQ, the REP, and other such documents, which lay down the standard terms relating to allocation of risks, contingent liabilities, and guarantees, as well as service quality. And performance standards have also been developed by various central ministries, such as the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, the Ministry of Shipping, etc. Further on, moving on to the other part of the question, whereas the integration of small PPPs being made more integrative is concerned, while large PPPs may sometimes be required, small PPPs can make a huge difference in people's lives. And contrary to the popular belief, small PPPs demand more inherent talent and ingenuity, brain power, as well as willpower to structure, finance, and implement. This has certainly been very true in India's second wave of PPPs. If you look closely, the first wave considered of larger and more visible airport, port, and road projects, but the second wave now includes renewed attention to the incremental follow-on results that affect change in urban services. For example, we can take the that the municipalities realized waste must be removed regularly, streets must be lit to reduce crime rates, parking must be provided, gardens must be maintained for the green future, etc. And coming on to the last part of my answer, the government e-market. So let us just abbreviate it to be called as GEM. GEM will expand its operations into government projects this year with a market worth of rupees 10 trillion by developing end-to-end contactless paperless systems to bring standardization and transparency in the government bidding process, starting with the panchayat and urban local body levels. GEM helps central and state government.
Just keep it more concise. Sir.
Yes, sir. So, just a very last point. GEM helps government departments achieve the best value for the money of taxpayers by carrying out efficient public procurement using tools such as e-bidding, reverse e-auction, and demand aggregation. The earlier system involved physical invitation of bids, bid evaluation, and finalization of winning bid under the Directorate General of Supplies and Disposals, which is a changes to all of that. We plan to shift from this primitive strategy and to integrate a new one. I hope that satisfies your question, sir.
Okay, we'll move on. 1 second. Is there a question from Nirmala Sitharaman to Kapil Sibal?
No, sir. There has been no question that I have asked to any opposition members.
Right, exactly. Tanaya, can you confirm this?
Yes, just a minute.
Sir, I guess they might have confused with from and to.
Yeah.
But yeah, sir, as far as the message I see in the group, the from is Kapil Sibal and it is to Nirmala Sitharaman. So shall I answer the question?
Can you just tag that message and like just tag it with a full stop and send it again to me?
I've tagged it and sent it, sir.
Acha, okay. Yeah, okay, you can address this. Kapil Sibal, can you read out your question? Just a second. Hardeep Singh Puri, what point you raised?
Sir, point of parliamentary inquiry, I just wanted to ask if the 2 question per minister rule holds.
Yes, sir, it does.
So in that case,
case, correct. Nirmala Sitharaman won't be able to address it.
Sir, I do have a query then, point of parliamentary
Go ahead.
inquiry. So since there is no limitation that is put on the opposition members for the number of questions that they ask, which is start, but it is only restricted from the government side, it becomes kind of problematic when we take this into consideration. So I think if there is no limit that is put on opposition, then there is no point of limiting the
No,
answers that
sir.
is
Sir,
provided
I
from the
understand
government side.
what you're saying, but you have to look at the intention behind this. Now, the point here is that opposition members can see questions. Just because we have a time constraint, we have put a cap on the verbal answers that the ministers can give. And this was decided in committee during the ROP sessions through a consensus that the ministers will have 2 questions addressed to them, which are starred questions, just to save up on time. So in this case, if Kapil Sibal has addressed this to you, we'll have it as an unstarred question and you can deal with it via chat. Does that work?
Sorry to interrupt. Can I just I wanted to say that since there's no Minister of Law and Justice over here, we can address this question as a start question to some other minister who will be available to answer it.
Sir, I understand, but
If that
shouldn't
is
you
possible.
have checked? Shouldn't you have checked that earlier, sir?
Yes, apologies
Right.
on my
Right.
Sir, I am ready to enroll myself to answer as that other minister.
Sir, it is
Of
pretty
Ingo's from
evident that
Yazran.
you're ready to enroll yourself to answer for all ministries, sir. But we'll not let that happen. We'll have you answer this as an unstarred
Okay, sir.
question. Does that work with the house?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think we can proceed with
Sir,
the
it
other
would be
questions.
preferable if the leader of the house answers on behalf of the ministers who are not present, because the leader of the house has been recognized by the party high command and the members elected.
Again,
So it
sir,
would be preferable.
we are bound by procedure. In that case, and as we can see, Piyush Goyal has already answered. Piyush Goyal, which is the leader of the house, has already answered 2 questions, right? That's why, taking that into consideration, I've mentioned that we'll have this as an unstarred question.
But even
Cool.
as an unstarred question, it would be preferable if the leader
Sir,
of
but
the
it is
house
addressed to
answers it.
Nirmala Sitharaman, sir.
Okay.
Right. So we'll move on. We'll have this as an unstarred question. We'll move on to KC Venugopal's question to Hardeep Singh Puri.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My question to Shri Hardeep Singh Puri is, at present, the natural gas accounts for around 6% in the country's primary energy mix against the world average of 24%. Among the available fossil fuels, natural gas, being an environment-friendly, clean fuel, has a potential to play a significant role in providing solutions to the environmental challenges. Power is one of the potential sectors which can facilitate an increase in gas share in energy mix, subject to improved affordability of power produced from gas. How do you plan to improve the availability and accessibility of natural gas to public at large?
So, Mr. Venugopal, I hope you're aware of the situation that Germany is facing. And did you hear the slogans the German people are making? The slogan, very ironically, is "the winter is coming." As if the Germans are scared of the winter, but because their energy shortages are so acute because of the Russian blockade, they are facing a huge problem. Also, I don't know how old you were during the 1973 oil crisis when the Arabs blocked all oil and natural gas. Natural gas is a fossil fuel. It is a more cleaner fossil fuel, but that does not align with our vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. There are many other alternatives. India is a rich country when it comes to natural resources. We receive 300 days of we have 300 sunny days. We have a land blessed with rivers, many of them perennial. We have almost an unlimited supply of uranium and thorium in the monazite sands of Kerala. There are geothermal energy sources. There are many sources. Natural gas, number one, are forex reserves due to America printing dollars has reduced significant reserves on buying something which we can replace easily by internal industries. Also, we are coming up with biodiesel and biohydrogen along with the gobar gas plants, which are rural MSMEs basically. So that is the way we look forward. We do not seek to be relied on any other country. Secondly, and this Dr. Jaishankar will tell you in detail in person, that majority of the natural gas that we buy is from Iran, and it is transported by pipelines to states of Gujarat and Maharashtra. Number one, there are physical constraints to the pipelines. The same pipelines cannot go to West Bengal or Odisha. There is a physical constraint. Second, Iran is a heavily sanctioned country. America just waived the CATSA sanctions on us. We have also been buying cheap oil from Russia. So there are limits to which our flexibility in foreign policy could go. So I hope you understand that the national interest is in concern, and I hope you will cooperate with us in this regard of national security, national energy security. I hope that answers it.
Right. The final question for the start questions list is from Mallikarjun Kharge to Hardeep Singh Puri. So, Mr. Kharge, if you're
Yes,
there in
sir.
the session.
So my question to the minister is, how does the government plan to streamline the land acquisition process, considering that 36.46% of the PP projects are stalled or delayed due to land acquisition?
Before I answer that question, can I know the source of the data you are
Yes,
quoting?
sir. The data is from IIFCL, FCL, NHAI, Ministry of Shipping and Civil Aviation, and State Road Authorities.
Okay.
All the
Yes,
data has
exactly. That is my point. State road authorities, state highways, airports, these are all which the acquisition are to be done by the state government. It's on the state list, not on the center list. As far as the central government is concerned, there are many schemes, especially one I would like to mention, which deserves our special attention. That is the Ahmedabad-Mumbai bullet train project. 90% of the land acquisition has been completed. 100% of the land acquisition in the state of Gujarat and in the Union Territory of Daman, Diu, and Dadra and Nagar Haveli have been purchased. Because of the Mahavikas Aghadi government in Maharashtra, the procurement of land has not been possible in Maharashtra in certain regions because of the opposition propping up foreign funded NGOs in place to place, raising issues which have already been cleared by the Supreme Court to slow down the process. Although we are regretful that if any project has been stalled or is lagging behind, we will work on it. We assure you, you give us the specific details of the projects and we will get back to you as soon as we with the answers. I hope that's
Yeah, go
late
ahead.
to follow up. So, first of all, it is quite ironic that the government is asking the opposition for specific projects. They don't even know what projects are stalled or delayed. Secondly, sir, the government did recognize that there are certain projects where land acquisition lies in the hands of government, and still they did not answer my query. How are they going to streamline it?
Mr. Khadge, the process is open. It's an open process. We acquire land from the private people if it's a private land, or if it's from the state government. That is how it does. The process is already streamlined. All we need is the cooperation of the local bodies and the state government.
Okay, fair enough. Right. So we have exhausted the starred questions list. Now, regarding the unstarred questions, preferably I'd ask the ministers to address all the questions before the session ends today, or latest by before the session begins tomorrow. Does that work with all the ministers? Yes, Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, just a request. I completely understand your point. But since we had only limited number of questions that were asked in the questionnaire, and we have not exhausted the time limit for questionnaire, and we have much time left for the proceedings, can the unstart questions which were, asked to be addressed as, can the start questions that were asked to be addressed as unstart questions be given an opportunity to be verbally discussed in the committee? Because I see that we initially were planning to have it for the session for an hour, but since we have limited questions and we have time left, the question that was addressed to me, which was a start question, which was not considered on the House considering time constraints, can that be addressed now, given the fact that we have much time left?
Right. So there are two recourses to this. First would be that we could either go into 0 hour and we could discuss something that is not related to, like, whatever the House wants to discuss. but that would last for a shorter amount of time because we need to break for lunch. We're in informal session right now, by the way, right? So we have to break for lunch at around 1. So we can go into 0 hour. The second would be that we can take the advice that you have mentioned. But in order to do that, we have to also look at how many questions came in as unstarred questions, right? Because we can't just have you addressing a few unstarred questions and the others not doing that. So,
sir, I think there's a confusion. I said that I'm not asking for all the unstarred questions to be addressed, but there was a start question which was directed to me.
You to answer that 2 years of time has lapsed since the appointment of the judges. So I just want to ask, what is it that the government is taking time for while considering the applications of the potential judges? And it's not only pertaining to the Bombay High Court, but various other high courts of the.
See, first of all, this beautiful question was answered by Attorney General K.K. Venugopal last year when this particular issue was taken up in the Supreme Court, specifically as a suo motu cognizance, to which there has already been a response that the government has given. Now, the procedure for appointing High Court judges happens through what? Memorandum. What is that? There is a specific document that is allocated for it. And the name of the document is Memorandum of Procedure of Appointment of High Courts, which the Minister of Law and Justice specifically follows. Now, we need to specifically understand, for the matter of fact, that the recommendations for the High Court judge position has to initially go from the Chief Minister of the particular state to the concerned, collegium. Then the collegium, in reference with the Minister of Law and Justice, sends that particular recommendation to the President, and then the President specifically appoints these particular people. Now, there has been several delays from the state governments or the chief ministers of state governments in sending these names and lists. For that matter of fact, Mr. Kiran Rijiju, the law minister, has specifically addressed this matter in the Lok Sabha during the earlier session, where he has specifically recognized that the MOP, which is the memorandum that is specifically used out, involves these various stakeholders into play. Now, the problem, however, is according to the MOP and the SEG Collegium, the recommendation should specifically come back within 4 weeks on the Law Ministry, which will be forwarded to the Prime Minister's office. But before it reaches to the Prime Minister's office, there is a time period for the Chief Minister to give his reviews on this particular matter within 6 weeks, right? This particular review that the Chief Minister had to give was not taken into consideration, and which was also observed by the former Chief Justice of India, Mr. Bobde, on this particular matter, and he also observed this. Over 38% of sanctioned posts of judges are lying vacant, which we have addressed. But the problem, however, is the memorandum of this particular procedure involves these people. Yeah. Now, the decision of the government in this particular matter has already been taken, where after 2015, we have framed new guidelines for this particular memorandum. But however, since the reforms in judicial sector require the overview of the courts on this particular matter, those recommendations or orders are not yet to be implemented. But as far as appointments are concerned, the central government is on the right track, appointing at the right moment. We are not accountable for the mistakes that the other governments respectively do from different states. Thank you, sir.
I would like to supplement to this, if I have the permission of the chair.
So,
Kapil Sibal, I believe, 1 second. Kapil Sibal, I believe it was answered satisfactorily.
So I would like to raise a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir.
How is this question relevant to the public-private partnership debate?
So in the question hour and the 0 hour, it is not necessary that all questions have to be addressed to the agenda at hand.
Okay.
And if you see the list of questions, there are, I think, a couple of questions which weren't exactly related to the agenda. That is the point of having a question hour and a 0 hour before the legislative business starts post lunch.
So are we going to have a question hour tomorrow as well?
Yes, we have.
Because I hope, I think many people did not really know that.
Yes, Nirmala Sitharaman.
Sir, if I'm not wrong, speaking off record, the chairman, sir, in the rules of procedure session specifically told that day 2 we won't be having any question hour. We are only planning to have question hour for day 1, and day 2 we will be only proceeding with the legislative business.
Okay,
so,
okay.
Are we?
Okay, then I might have missed that. Thanks for pointing that out. I might have missed that. So we'll get a confirmation on that and we'll send it on the WhatsApp group post or today's session, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So now we'd like to take the committee's opinion. Again, we are out of formal session. We'd like to take the committee's opinion that it is 12:40, and as the
And the way we are going to do is we are going to have motions taken up verbally. So members willing to raise motions, please raise your hand. Vinay Tendulkar, followed
Yes.
by Nirmala Sataraman, followed by Kapil Sibal.
Sir, I don't think so that will be necessary because I guess it's the same motion that we. So can we withdraw?
That is a presumption that is a presumption on which you are acting, right?
Yeah.
But I have to do my job and take 3 members to at least, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Also, now we have entered the formal session. Okay. So I recognize 3 members, right? One was Vinay Tendulkar. Sir, please tell me. What is your motion?
With the permission of the respected chairman, I would like to initiate a motion for a short-term discussion hour on the topic public-private partnership in the transportation sector per
30 seconds. And per speaker time is?
Per speaker time being 60 seconds or 90 seconds and total speaker time being 30 minutes.
60, 30 I'm considering. Public-private partnership in transportation sector, correct? Okay, all right. Nirmala Sataraman.
Sir, just the same motion, but with a different timing per speaker.
Yeah, what is that?
Sir, we propose for a 2 minutes per speaker with one mandatory question, one mandatory point of information after every speech.
That is something that you don't have. What you have. Yeah, I'm so sorry. So you want to increase the per speaker time to 2 minutes and total time period will be?
Sir, we are not keeping any total time. Everybody will speak once.
Okay. So there is structure in which you have to present your motion, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm taking your individual total time period to be 2 minutes and total time periods of 30 minutes. Otherwise, it becomes a long-term session. You have to mandatorily inform me of an individual time period and total time period.
Okay.
And not only that, the POIs will be at our discretion.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Consider. Yeah. Third person was Kapil ji.
Yes. We are for a motion of need of framework and quasi-judicial bodies for effective and expedite dispute resolution and need for new laws or codification of laws. And per speaker time will be 120 seconds.
Total time period?
Total time period will be taken as
30 minutes.
Yes, 30 minutes will be fine.
Okay. All right. Could you please repeat the motion slowly?
Need of framework and quasi-judicial bodies for effective and expedite dispute resolution and need of new laws and amendments to the existing acts.
Ma'am, ये बहुत बड़ा motion हो गया.
We can just keep it to need of framework and quasi-judicial bodies for effective dispute resolution.
Dispute resolution of what?
Dispute resolution of the disputes which are arising out of the PPP while completing the projects which are pertaining to the disputes actually arise due
Got
to
it.
statutory
Got it.
requirements
So I'm
long time.
rephrasing it for you. I got it. So what you're hinting at is discussion on framework or need of framework for quasi judicial bodies for dispute resolution of problems associated with PPP model. Okay, I think everybody gets the gist of it. So you're keeping the individual time period as 120 and total time period as 30, right? All right. Okay. हरदीप सिंह जी मैं यही कह रहा था, थर्ड डिफरेंट टॉपिक आपको मिल गया. Okay. So you got three motions, one by Vinayak Rane, one by Nirmala Sitharaman, one by Kapil Sibal ji, and the total time period, just give me a sec.
So shall I?
No, just give me a sec.
Yeah, sure.
I have the motions with me. I'm just deciding on which motion we are going to have the voting first. Okay. So we are going to have the motion put across by Nirmala Sitharaman as first, so far as voting is concerned. The motion put across by Nirmala Sitharaman is public-private partnership in case of transportation sector, deliberation of public-private partnership in case of transportation sector. The individual time period is 2 minutes, total time period is 30 minutes. The reason why we are choosing this motion to be first is both that it accommodates 15 speakers and it was the second motion that was put across. Adila or Tanya, could you please tell me the total time period and individual time period for Vinayak Rane's motion?
So the total time period was 30 minutes and individual time was 60 seconds.
Okay, 60 seconds. Fair enough, fair enough. That way we will be having the motion put across by Vinayak Rane because it can accommodate the maximum number of speakers. Okay, fair. All those in favor of the motion put across by Vinayak Rane, that is to discuss public-private partnership in transportation sector, please raise your hand. All those against? Tanaya and Adila, just see if everybody is voting or not.
No, sir. Unfortunately, they are not voting.
Okay, who is not voting? I think
there was
members,
network issue. Can you repeat?
You have got two more. Okay, I'll just repeat it again. We are voting on the motion put across by Mr. Vinayak Rane. The motion is to discuss public-private partnership in transportation sector. The individual time period is 60 seconds. Total time period is 30 minutes. Members in favor, please raise your hand. You have got 5 minutes to cast your vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No more voting, please. No more variation in the voting. Keep it as it is. We have got 14 members. Members, this is not acceptable. If I'm saying that there should not be any kind of variation in the voting process, please understand that. Let me count the vote. So the members who have supported this motion, that number stands at 13. Put your hands down, everybody. Members against?
Sir, I guess there has been some confusion in the voting because
Yes, sir. You repeated it.
Let's do it again. Okay, let's do it again. Everyone put your hands down. Members in favor of this motion, please raise your hand.
So which motion are we talking
The
about? The first
motion
motion, right?
put across by, the first motion put across by Vinayak Rane, PPP in transportation sector. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, only one member is supporting it. Against? Members against? Motion fails. Everyone put your hand down. Now, the motion that we are voting on is by Nirmala Sitharaman. It is the same motion with a different individual time period. Motion is to discuss public-private partnership in transportation sector. Total time period is 2 minutes. Total time period is 30 minutes. Individual time period is 2 minutes. Members in favor, please raise your hand. All right. Members against? All right. Motion passes. Now we are in a discussion or discussing the public-private partnership in transportation sector. Nirmala Sitharaman ji, do you want to be the first speaker, or as and when we recognize you?
Sir, I'll reserve my right to be recognized later. Sir.
Okay. There's nothing like a reserving the right to be recognized later. This power to reserve your right is not present with you. What you can do is either you can go first, or
Yes.
as and when I recognize you, you give me the discretion to recognize you as and when I want.
Yes, sir. I'll give you the discretion to recognize me when you want, but I would recommend to be the last because the position of the government in this aspect is not changed, and our vision is
We'll try to accommodate.
we have come out with.
We'll try to accommodate your request. Okay. Members willing to give statement, please raise your hand. Hardeep Singh Puri. Seema Dwivedi. Mansukh Mandavya. Mahesh Malani. As and when I'm recognizing you, please put your hand down. Narasimha Rao. Narayan Rane. Kapil Sibal. Piyush Goyal. Mallikarjun Kharge. KC Venugopal. Vinay Tendulkar. Induwala Goswami. We can recognize 3 more members. Ashok Bajpai. Derek O'Brien. Vivek Thakur. Everybody put your hands down. So we have recognized 15 speakers for now, because we can only recognize 15 members. In case there are people, there are members who want to speak and haven't been recognized, you can request for an extension, and basis the voting and consensus in the committee, we can move forward. Right now we have Hardeep Singh Puri as the first speaker. Sir, you know the motion, you have got 2 minutes to speak. Can someone please put up the timer? Yeah, you are audible. Adila, Tanaya, can anyone please put up the timer? Okay, perfect. Okay, Mr. Puri. As and when the timer starts, you can start.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Please note, you have got the instrument of point of information, point of order. Everything is going to be accepted orally now. And considering that we have got about 15 members, right? Basis the speech, we'll be allowing maximum two point of information. Beyond that, you can send your chits.
So will I be able
Sir,
to
kuch
see
keh
the
rahe ho?
timer on the screen?
Yeah, we are trying that. Somebody's putting that up. Just give me a sec.
Okay.
Can you see the timer?
Yes, sir.
Please start.
Honorable Chairperson, transport in India can be broadly divided into 4 sectors: airways, waterways, railways, and roadways. The roadways have luckily been relieved of monopoly of the government, and we can see the results. We are heading steadfast in developing a channel of wonderful highways across India, of course, under the leadership of Mr. Nitin Gadkari ji. Airways have been fortunate now after we have sold off our stakes in Air India, and a large burden of government debt has been transferred to the private sector, which can be put to better use. The resources can be put to better use by the private sector. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my friend Jyotiraditya Rao Sindhya ji for the work he has done in building 66 new airports, doubling India's air transport capacity. From 1947 to 2014, there were 74 airports. From 2014 to now, 66. We are planning to build a total of 220 airports by 2025. Railways are the lifeline of India, Mr. Chairman, but I say this with full responsibility. The railways are sick. Indian railways have been left sick by the past governments. They have been made economically unviable. We are building specialized freight corridors in the PPP model. The services of the passenger railways given to the IRCTC are being outsourced to private vendors, and they are doing a better job at it. I propose we withdraw the IRCTC from the services in the Indian railways. The Ahmedabad-Mumbai bullet train is a great example how to get foreign direct investment via the PPP model. The Tejas Express, India's first public-private partnership railway, is a brilliant example. If any of my fellow members have traveled by the Tejas Express, they can look at the difference. One of my fellow members was talking about better service delivery. This is better service delivery. India is the home to world's most number of metro networks. We have metro networks in Ahmedabad, Chennai, Delhi, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Kanpur, Kochi, Kolkata, Lucknow, Mumbai, Nagpur, Bangalore, Noida, Pune, Gurgaon, and they're all growing. And all of them will double their total track length by 2027. New metros are being built in cities like Navi Mumbai, Indore, Bhopal, Vizag, Coimbatore, and Bareilly. And I'm glad to inform you that all these projects are being designed, planned, and constructed by the private sector. The government procures the land, we get the clearances done, but
Sir,
they design.
please sum up.
Yes. Lastly, sir, the internal waterways. This is a long-term goal. I don't know if I'll be alive to see this, but we have started a plan to link all the major rivers in India. So, bypassing the Siliguri corridor, which is a strategic choke point for India, you will be able to sail from Varanasi to Guwahati without ever crossing the Siliguri corridor. We need private, both entrepreneurship, investment, and planning for this project. I hope that we will move forward as a unanimous house in development of the nation when it comes to transportation and the applications of PPP sector in transportation and its development.
Thank you, Mr. Puri. Points noted. Sanaya, I'm not able to see the timer.
Yes,
that-
sir. There's some glitch from Adila's end. It's for everyone.
Achha, okay.
I'll just figure.
Yeah, it would be helpful if we can have the timer put up. Okay, with that, we'll be entertaining 2 points of information for the statement given by Mr. Puri. Members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand. Before that, I'm so sorry. Before that, is there any point of order or any other point? Seeing none, is there any point of information? Okay, seeing one. All right. MJ Akbar followed by KC Venugopal. MJ Akbar, please ask your question.
Hardeep ji, you just said you would love to withdraw IRCTC from the railways. So IRCTC is an umbrella organization for railways. So do you wish to plan to give railways entirely into private system without any governance government interference?
Bataiye.
Can I answer, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
You were already answering without my permission. Yeah, but you can go on. Now you have it.
Akbarji, I said, and I quote, I propose to withdraw IRCTC from services in the Indian Railways passenger sector, which means the job of catering, cleaning, laundering, all of this should be provided to the services, to the private sector in the services, because they are much better catering to the hospitality needs of the people. And as far as you are talking about privatization, yes, we are looking forward to certain public-private participation in the form of Tejas Express. There are a few new trains, Vista Domes are being built, which are also via public-private partnership. So does that satisfy your query?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Puri. With that, we go on to the next POI. KC Venugopal, please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please ask your question.
So you mentioned so much advantages of PPP in the transportation sector. So I'm not sure if you are aware that despite toll booths being one of the most successful government method of monetization, toll collection haven't been glitch free, as has been witnessed in various parts of the country earlier as well. Nowadays, the youths are protesting against an attempt to collect toll on the Kollam Pass. I'm not sure if you are aware, in recent months,
I'm so sorry,
protesters
sir.
were demanding, among other,
If you could please provide a one-line context and then present your question, it would be really helpful.
context on
The context that you're providing right now on your question, if you could limit that to just one line and then ask your question.
the youth are protesting because on the Kollam bypass, they are private companies are collecting tolls. So what are your stance on this? And isn't the public suffering on this?
All right. Thank you, sir. Please, sir, bataiye.
Mr. KC Venugopal ji, the fares of the roads that are being built have been regulated by the government. They have undergone this rise that goes with inflation, the 5 to 6% hike that takes place. That is the inflation hike. The rest, the rates have been kept the same. So if it's an expressway, the rates are the same as they were before. So I don't think so that is a matter of concern. Also, the toll collection have been impacted because we have implemented the FASTag method. That is a little sacrifice that we have to make to transition from a very low end, which is open to corruption method, to a very corruption free method of toll collection.
That is a sacrifice for you.
What?
Did you use the word sacrifice?
Yes, sir. There is that if you wait beyond 60 seconds and the FASTag is not working, then you don't need to pay the toll. So there have been certain losses. The people who are working at the toll centers are transitioning from a cash-based method to a cashless method. So there is a certain loss, but I'm sure within a couple of years, it would just rise, like spike our collection.
Theek. Okay.
Chair, please to follow.
With that, no, sir, not granted. Why Archit, please? Seema Devedi, please go on. You have the floor for the next 2 minutes. Before that, Tanaya, Adila, can we have the timer up, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Seema ji, you can start as and when the timer is up.
All right. Can I start?
Just wait for the timer to come up.
Is my screen visible?
No,
No, I don't think it's not visible to me. It's still in motion. Okay, no problem. What we'll do is we have
So
the
I'll
floor
clock in the time.
for 2 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah, please clock in the time and give her a tap at what,
Sure,
75
sir.
seconds. And then at the end of 100 seconds, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please start. Seema ji, please start.
Thank you, Chair. The public-private partnership strives to provide a common, convenient, clean, and congestion-free transportation system. This is precisely true when it comes to roads, ports, railways, inland waterways, and airports. For example, the first line of Mumbai Metro, built between Ghatkopar and Warsaw, was using the public-private partnership model. It includes GIZ India, Indian Port Association, Central Road Research Institute as its partners, and public ministries like Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. The Viability Gap Funding (VGF) is a scheme proposed by the government under the PPP model, which asserts its domination on the building of physical infrastructures. National Maritime Development Program aims to boost infrastructure at these ports. However, it is in need of large investments. 64% of the proposed investment in major ports are envisaged from public players through PPP. The government also aims to attract private investment in the aviation infrastructure. There was also a 100% tax exemption for airport projects for a period of 10 years. The purpose of PPP is to develop high quality, outcome focused public procurement managed by skilled professional staff and innovation as a means of delivering service improvements. This proves that infrastructure resilience is vital for achieving India's economic and
Ma'am,
social
please sum up.
aspirations, which can be done through public and private partnership. Thank you.
All right. Point of information, please. Members willing to ask questions. Sayyad Hussain, please go on, ask a question.
Thank you, Chair. So as far as this Ghatkopar metro train was mentioned, so an incident was reported in Ghatkopar bound metro train where rainwater started leaking from the AC ducts inside the compartment. And also several other incidents of water leaking inside the metro stations have been reported. So what would you like to say on?
I think that this metro project is, you can say, the first attempt of the government, and the government is trying its level best to make the journey comfortable for their passengers and to avoid such incidents. But the thing is that monsoons are quite unpredictable, and you can say waterlogging and is a problem which India has been facing for a long time. So railways are the ones, Indian means other than the metros, the trains other than the metros, they face this problem quite often. So I wouldn't say that metro would be a big exception to it, but sure, we can take certain measures to avoid this problem.
All right, thank you. Mansukh Mandavya.
Sir, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you're audible. Please go on.
Okay. Okay. So I have seen that a lot of my eminent friends have talked about transportation in the generic sectors like metro, railways, and I would like to point out that, yeah, as Hardeep Singh Puri sir had very much well said about the roadway sector also, PPP has been doing a very phenomenal job everywhere. But I would like to draw some light on other sectors of transport also. And I would start with buses. And I would like to take the case of Ahmedabad Bus Rapid Transition System, which is ABRTS. So generally, bus services are considered the most despicable mode of transport by most of the people in the country. They are bad, they are not efficient. But after the introduction of PPP, ABRTS has shown a lot of progress and has shown the following benefits. For it follows the non-conventional method of PPP. It is funded by national and state governments, unbundling of services rather than one private agency providing all of them, and shift the responsibility on private players. Thus, they provide quality service. In terms of roads, I would like to draw the attention of the chair towards hybrid annuity model. And I would like to tell that total length of highways as on July 2022 is 140,995 kilometers as of in 2013, which was 79,116 kilometers. There is at least a difference of half. Also, as for the metro rail question, which was like raised up by my eminent Rajya Sabha member friend, it was a matter of design, and of course, it is the working of the AC as a system which entails that kind of problem, and it will be corrected only after there is a designing revolution in the system of ACs. Also, as far as privatization of railways goes, there is a huge difference between privatization and public partnership projects, and we have to understand that privatization is on a whole lot newer level itself. Apart from that, public-private partnerships in electric vehicles have shown a lot of growth, and without public-private partnerships in the sector of electric vehicles, we will not be able to reach the commitment of non-fossil fuel energy capacity to 500 gigawatts by 2030,
Sir, please
as
sum up.
India has committed in COP26. In conclusion, I would like to say that if we support PPP projects in transportation sector, it will reap far better results and a higher rate of growth than seen before. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand. Sayyid Hussain, please go on, ask your question.
Thank you, Chair. So, sir, as far as Mumbai Metro project is concerned, it has almost missed 10 deadlines due to unavailability of land for construction of the metro corridor and poor records of underground utilities, which led to change in the design of the corridor and delay in getting various clearances. And apart from the delay of almost 4 years, the cost of the project increased from 2,356 crores to rupees 4,321 crores. So how would you justify this, sir?
So I see. Okay, I would like the permission of the chair to give to answer the question.
Please go on. Please go on.
Okay, ma'am, with all due respect, your question pertains to commercial operation dates. And I agree that methods to better analyze such dates should be adopted, and introduction of an extension period for operation has to be taken into account. Also, I would suggest a fast track unit for allotment of such dates and accounting of such dates. But apart from that, I would also suggest that there are apart from your the reasons you have cited as of laxity, I would rather differ from that and tell you that it might be due to the accounting reasons, and maybe people are trying to find out whether that land which is to be granted to that particular mode of transport there is feasible enough or not. Apart from that, I don't think there is any other way we can counter it. And commercial operation dates are surely being worked on with the introduction of certain fast track units already been done.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Please try
That's
to
it.
limit your question and precise your answer or reply to it both. Thank you. With that, Mahesh Jetmalani, sir, you have the floor for next 2 minutes.
PPP is an effective way to build and implement new infrastructure or to renovate, operate, or maintain existing transport infrastructure facilities. In both areas, it can be beneficial to solve critical transportation problems. Today, urban sector generates about 60% of GDP. Urban transport supply and adequate quantity and quality determine the efficiency and functioning of urban areas and define the future of economic growth of trajectories. Similarly, by influencing the level of travel and mode of choices of people and goods, it can be a major contributor to solve urban development and health. Use of public-private partnership to introduce scale business services is becoming common in Indian cities. Public-private partnership can help combine public sector enterprises in planning and managing bus facilities and private sector's capabilities to access of finance and introduce cost effectiveness in business operation and maintenance. Thus, to meet the modern mobility demand, an investment of 2.21 lakh crores was initiated during the 12th fifth year plan period in urban transport sector. Further, another estimate from a high power expert committee constituted by the Ministry of Urban Development and Government of India put total investment requirements on Indian urban infrastructure and services by 2031 in order of 39 lakh crores. Of these, about 58% of availability of the fund is limited. Here, public-private partnership could be a great source and help.
Ma'am, could you please repeat your last statement?
Sorry?
Could you please repeat your last statement? That was not audible, I think.
Okay, I'll repeat. 1 second.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yes, please repeat
Okay.
the last statement.
To meet urban mobility demand, an investment of 2.21 lakh crores was envisaged during 12th fifth year plan period in urban transport sector. Further, another estimate from high-powered expert committee constituted by the Ministry of Urban Developments and Government of India put the total investment requirements on Indian urban infrastructure by 2031 in order of rupees 39 lakh crores. Of these, about 58% are estimated to be in urban transport. While the resource requirements are large and widening, the availability of funds is limited in all size and class of cities. Here, public-private partnership can be emerged as a key alternative and help to finance these huge projects.
All right. Thank you. Members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we proceed to the next speaker, Narasimha Rao. So you have the floor for next.
Good afternoon, respected chair and the committee. Now, my fellow party members have expanded elaborately on various transportation and infrastructure projects being taken up in the country. In UP2, a lot of around more than 25 projects are everything from 6-lane roads to 4-lane roads. Everything has been carried over. Right now, I would like to point out something that has not been touched yet. First of all, is the advantage of the PPP model, and what common thing is we are getting access to a huge load of capital, which is in the which is the private sector. Right now, therefore, what happens is there is a lot of efficiency that comes up because the private players are involved in it. Now, the drawback of this is there's a transfer of risk here. The risk goes from the public to the private, while the debt goes from private to public, right? Now, this tremendously increases transparency because the private players are held accountable, right? Now, and it also, the model shifts from just the production of an asset or a product, and it focuses more towards the also the delivery of the whole service or the asset, right? Now, this broadened focus creates an incentive for the private companies to keep the operational cost low. Now coming to what happens, what are the problems plaguing it? As respected Sayyid Nasir Hussain put up the question about land acquisition and all, their own government in 2013 put up a law that severely restricted the ability of government to acquire lands. It take 80%, 80% of voting or consent from the landowners in private projects and 70% in PPP projects. Our government, the NDA and its allies, put up an ordinance in 2015 and then another amendment bill, which was rejected in this very Rajya Sabha, sir, right? So you can see where this is going. Finally, Derek O'Brien also commented that I quote, there's a clear lack of regulations, restraints and rules and access of corruption and crony capitalism. Can they explain what is the basis of this belief? Because we do have regulations, we do have models such as BOT, BOO, BOLT, DF, FOBT, OMT, and LDO, and so on. So with that, I would like to conclude my speech.
All right, thank you. Members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand. K.C. Venugopal, so please ask your question.
So you talked about land acquisition and how you fixed it by our ordinance. Then why don't you tell me why is the rate still over 30% if you have done such a good job?
I quote it again. I said the law which was passed, it was a reform law which was passed in 2013 under your
understood
government.
and
Sir, please,
then
please
how
let me
is
speak.
it still
Please let me speak.
Hold on. I'm right here. At least have the courtesy to ask my prior permission and then speak in the committee. Sir, please ask your question again.
So you said you passed an ordinance where you fixed the Land Acquisition Act. Then why is the acquisition over 30% till now if it is fixed by you?
Chair, can I answer?
Thank you. Please answer the question.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll repeat my statement again. The ordinance was passed in 2015. Then an amendment bill came in order to accommodate the PPP models in 2000, which was the amendment bill which didn't pass the Rajya Sabha. That was I was stating. It didn't pass this very committee because the opposition themselves voted against it. So
all right,
that's
thank you so much.
Yeah.
With that, Narayan Rane, please for the next. Just a second. Yeah, Mr. Narayan Rane, you have the floor.
Yes, sir. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes, perfect. Please.
Okay. India has embarked on a rapid pace of road development following the policy change in the late 1990s that gave a high priority to road development in India. The NHDP was launched in 1997 to develop a large road network in a relatively short period of time. The PPP model was adopted for road development in India, given the inherent advantages associated with it over conventional models. This trend is expected to continue, and by 2031, almost 40% of the Indian population is expected to be living in urban areas. However, most Indian cities are ill-equipped to provide mobility services to these growing populations. This has resulted in an increase of use of personal vehicles, leading to increase in road congestion, falling journey speed, higher air and noise pollution, etc. The government is cognizant of this fact and has identified inadequate transport infrastructure as a major reason why cities are unable to meet their increasing demands. In order to alleviate this concern, investments of INR 388,308 crore have been identified for urban transport infrastructure in the report of the Working Group of Urban Transport in the 12th FYP. I would like to emphasize that the roads sector has witnessed considerable activity over the past 20 years. Various initiatives such as the NHDP, the Central Road Fund Act, and the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana and the Control of Highways Act 2002 have been launched in this period. PPPs in the road sector in India have witnessed road constructions, management of roads, and the management of various tolling operations. Several policy measures have also generated private sector interests in the road sector. The Urban Development Department of the Government of Maharashtra was therefore supported under the GOI ADP PPP initiative for identifying and developing possible PPP structures for urban bus transport-based solutions in 4 selected sample cities. I think we must all agree that to achieve inclusive and sustainable growth, it is vital to develop the country's infrastructure, such as power, water, roads, ports, airports, urban bus and metro lines, health and education facilities. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Everyone, please keep in mind, I've already said this before. You can take 5 to 10 seconds extra. That's not a problem. You can take time to conclude. But if you take more than that, I won't be able to keep anything on the record. All right. So please try to refrain from exceeding your time limit from next time. With that, members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand. Casey Venugopal. Sir, please ask a question.
Sir, you talk about uh, such good projects, but what about the measures to address the economic slowdown? What about the issue of finances? How are you planning to cover that? Can you please explain?
Thank you. Mr.
Yes, sir.
Nani, could you please answer?
Can I go ahead to answer?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay,
please.
so given the recent developments in the economic sector, we can clearly see that because of high education rates and the literacy rates, the economic condition of India is growing. And this has been very nicely implemented, where the infrastructure demand is expected to improvement of the economy can be funded up to $1 trillion under India's 12th FY 5-year plan. So I guess this is, sufficient for your question, I believe. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. With that, we are done with your statement. I acknowledge the presence of Bianca, who is serving as the president for this particular conference. Bianca is here to take the feedback, and for that, Adila, Karan, and if there is any OC member present in the committee, I request you all to leave. Bianca, please let me know as to when I have to join the committee.
Yes,
session,
yes,
okay?
please. Thank you. Requesting the press
All right,
members to
all right,
please
thank
move to
you.
the main session.
I'm here.
Oh, Shivam is also here. Everybody, please acknowledge the presence of Shivam as well. I don't know how we can acknowledge your presence, Shivam, but
It's
yeah.
not required.
Yeah.
But thanks.
So since it's, online, we can just clap.
Yeah. Great. Members of Rajya Sabha, if you could please go back to the committee, your feedback is going on. Nasimha Rao, Anil Agarwal.
Sir,
Anybody from the OC, can you
Yeah,
please?
could you just let me know you're in which committee?
mine is education.
Okay.
Your Me too. I'm in.
The AISM committee is not yet started.
8:30, 3:30.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
हटना Dr. Anil Agarwal, you have been assigned to Rajya Sabha. Please accept the.
I haven't received it yet. I'm not getting the option.
Dr. Anil Agarwal, could you please rejoin the meeting?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you. Athila? Athila, you can stop recording.
Yes.
This is main.
Yeah.
We'll call them to the Rajya Sabha EP room.
Yeah, but what if Rachna is not asking anything?
I'll tell her.
So mostly, what was the essential problem which is faced occurred, and due to that, the account was declared as NPA, which is a non-performing asset. So even when the Mumbai Metro is working, the revenue is being generated. However, the revenue can't pay off the high debt and the interest which is occurred that time. So what I would like to state over here is there was a very long time which was taken by the MMRDA to give the unencumbered rights to the Mumbai Metro private limited. So all of the statutory and regulations which are there in between have caused a lot of problems to the PPPs. The PPPs is not essentially the problem. The problem is with the implementation of the PPPs and the governmental hurdles which are coming in between, for which the government needs to pass such resolutions and bring more and more ways to uh, uh, implement the PPPs successfully and smoothly, so that they can have the collaboration of the public and private could be used for better benefit and better infrastructure of the country. Furthermore, there are many cases which were failed because 48 in the last 2 decades, only 48% of the 1500 PPPs which were initiated, 48% are active and the rest are not active. Maybe they are in some legal disputes. So the government has totally looked away from all of these things, and they are just bringing out new and new. They're just signing new PPPs and bringing out more and more projects. But the existing projects, they need to understand what are the difficulties and fight for that difficulties and remove those hurdles and difficulties.
All right, thank you. We can have one point of information. Members willing to ask questions, please raise your hand.
Sir, before the point of information, I have a point of parliamentary inquiry.
जी बताइए.
Which party does Mr. Kapil Sibal represent in this
Mr.
house?
Sibal, please answer that question.
According to the matrix, I represent Indian National Congress, because the matrix is the portfolio is allotted way before Mr. Kapil Sibal entered into the other party. So if you're well aware of it, we're following the matrix in the Sikh Parliament.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Puri, is it doubt
Yes,
clarified?
sir.
Okay. Yes, so we can have one POI. Members willing to ask questions. Seema Devedi, please ask your question. Seema ji, do you want to ask the question? Seeing that you're not here, Hardeep Singh Puri, please ask your question.
Mr. Sibal, you said that the Mumbai Metro, it is facing a lot of issues. But when you are so concerned about the Mumbai Metro, why do you then support NGOs which are blocking the completion of the Mumbai Metro? Can you clarify your party's stand on the RA project, on the RA protests?
Sure. I am not at all talking about the new metro project which is going to be undertaken, because there are issues faced. We can't really let the RA project, the RA be, completely wiped off because of the car shed. So what the point over here was about the Mumbai Metro 1 Private Limited, which is from the Ghatkopar to Andheri, I think, Warsaw. We were talking about that, and we were talking about the account being declared as NPA because there was a lot of problem from getting the statutory requirement of MRDA. So those were the problems which I was bringing into the light, and not the recent metro project. However, the recent metro project is the RA. They can't wipe off the RA. You can't do that because it is actually called the lungs of Mumbai. So you can't do that because there are other viable plans which can be undertaken.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Piyush Goyal, please go ahead. You have the floor for next 2 minutes.
Sir, am I audible? Good afternoon, everyone. For any country, the development and urbanization will always pose an increasing demand for mobility, and hence transportation, infrastructure, and services are one of the most important requirements. And these are best handled through public-private partnerships, as already stated repeatedly by members of my party, that through PPP we are giving these jobs to entities which are best suited to handle them. Coming to roadways and railways have been a major sector to which huge infrastructural funds have been allocated by our government. And India has the distinction of having the largest PPP program globally in the road sector, more than 560 road projects, comprising of a total length of 45,000 kilometers, with an estimated investment exceeding 2 lakh crores have been awarded on PPP basis so far by the central government in coordination with various state governments. Now, PPP can also solve the need of a bus service sector and ramp up the bus services. It is the need of the hour, as India still faces a low bus penetration on roads with 1.4 buses per 1,000 people at a time. Coming to railways have been massively modernized through PPP. My friend Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav has stated that PPPs and railways have been quite successful, and 14 projects in Indian Railways were 9,234 crores have been so far completed through PPP, and 10 more projects are under implementation. And these projects, most of them are related also to connectivity. Coming to airports, the Airport Authority of India has leased out 8 airports for operations, management, and development under public-private partnerships. As with all schemes, the PPP scheme also faces certain challenges, and we are trying to solve those issues through continued structural reforms.
I'm so sorry. Am I audible, Karan?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you
Okay.
are.
Mr. Goel, are you here?
In PPP,
Mr. Goel, can you hear me? Piyush Goel ji, क्या आप मेरी बात सुन सकते हैं?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think there is some problem with your network. You are not audible perfectly. Your voice is lagging. Can you try to switch to your mobile data,
Yes, sir.
or if you're using your mobile data, can you please switch to Wi-Fi? Or what you can do is, please turn off your camera and then speak. It might get better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
audible. Yeah, you have 30 seconds. Please go on. Mr. Goel? I think there is some issue with your network. You can give your speech later. We'll proceed to the next speaker. Malika Arjun Khadge, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. सर जब हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन समय स्टार्ट सर जब हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन की बात करते हैं वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल रोड ट्रांसपोर्ट वहां पे काफी सारे अभी भी ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं जो कि बॉट मॉडल पे चलते हैं यानी कि बिल्ड ऑपरेट ट्रांसफर हालांकि मेरा पर्सनली ये मानना है कि गवर्नमेंट ने जो ऑल्टरनेट एक मॉडल सजेस्ट किया है दैट इज HAM वो ज्यादा बढ़िया होगा रादर देन rather than the BOT model, considering कि BOT model में काफी सारे financial arrangements के risk है. कई बार क्या होता है कि आपके जो कंसेशनर्स होते हैं वो बैंक से लोन्स ले लेते हैं, लेकिन वो बाद में NPAs बन जाते हैं क्योंकि वो लोन्स चुका ही नहीं पाते. सेकेंडली सर काफी क्योंकि रोड्स हो गया या फिर कोई भी ट्रांसपोर्ट का मीन्स हो गया, इस प्रोजेक्ट को बिल्ड करने में काफी टाइम लगता है, काफी लंबा प्रोसेस होता है, काफी सारे डिस्प्यूट्स हो जाते हैं. ये डिस्प्यूट्स की वजह से कई बार स्टॉल या डिले होते रहते हैं प्रोजेक्ट, जिस वजह से मेरे हिसाब से गवर्नमेंट को एक डिस्प्यूट रेजोल्यूशन अथॉरिटी डिस्प्यूट रेजोल्यूशन बॉडी बनानी चाहिए, जिसमें कि NHAI के मेंबर्स को भी रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिले और इफेक्टिवली डिस्प्यूट्स रिजॉल्व हो पाए. सर मोर ओवर concession agreements में risk mitigation is a very important part that we need to look, और एक cyclic stage में risk mitigation को देखना चाहिए. early risk mitigation कैसे हो सकता है, उसके बाद क्या क्या risk आएंगे, क्योंकि कई बार ओवर एस्टिमेट हो जाती है रेवेन्यू की कॉस्ट, जिस वजह से आखिर में प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर्स को लॉस हो जाता है. इस कारण एक ऐसा माहौल क्रिएट हो जाता है कि प्राइवेट इन्वेस्टर्स आगे जाके किसी भी रोड या फिर किसी भी ट्रांसपोर्ट के उसमें इन प्रोजेक्ट में इन्वेस्ट करने में हिचकिचाते हैं. तो यही मेरा था. थैंक यू. स्पीक.
Thank you so much, sir. Are there any point of information?
Question privilege, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, there is a part of a translation that I need, which is spoken in Hindi.
All right. Which is that?
Ma'am, the points that he referred regarding the concessional model concession agreements and the risk mitigation, can that be translated and told in the committee so that I can ask question on it? Because there were certain things told which I couldn't comprehend. So
Adila will help you out with it. Adila, please share the verbatim and you can ask the question via chat if it's not too much trouble for you.
No, sir, I would like to ask it over the course of Parliament, because if there has been something misleading, I can point out at it. So,
sir, we'll have to refer to the verbatim and then get back to you for that. Adila, do we have the verbatim for this? That will be shared with you, and you can do that in your speech, I think, which you have later on, right?
Okay, sir. I'll roughly try to ask from what I comprehend. No issues.
Do you want to exercise the option right now?
Yeah.
Do you want to ask the POI?
Yes.
Okay. Members willing to ask questions? Taraya, please.
Yes. So we take Shri Narayan Rane. Yeah. And following that, Nirmala Sitaraman.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. So I would like to pose a question. So considering the advocacy of the ham model here, there are certain disadvantages to every model, and the ham model lacks a component element, which is the lack of a standardized protocol. So there is no standardized protocol in the ham preparation and storage. So how would you propose a remedy for this, sir?
Thank you for your question, Sri Narayan Rane. Actually, it is quite ironic that Mr. Rane is opposing the brainchild of his own transport minister, Sri Nitin Gadkari. And what I said is that I won't really say that it is the best option available for us right now, the ham model, but it is certainly better than BOT model where the private player has to get the entire money and financing in it.
All right. Moving on, Nirmala Sitaraman ji, please.
Sir, you extending the question that Mr. Rana had towards you. You told that there is a problem with the private players getting investment for money in terms of financing the project, right? The government, which under the viability gap funding scheme as well as under the national investment pipeline, has given incentives for these private players and has provided loans which can be facilitated by the banks in India. So what is the actual problem that these private investors are going to face in terms of investment?
So the actual problem here lies in the in the underestimation of the project itself. For example, when we estimate it over the time, because roads is not something that can be once you do that, the loans that are provided, they are often much lesser. That has been the loans that have been decided by the government to be provided to the private players, that are often very much less than the actual cost that is to be used and invested in the project. Now for that they have to go to external debt. Now when they do that and they take external debt, and the project cost overruns itself, what happens is that the revenue generated is certainly not what is expected, and that is why the debt that they're unable to pay often goes to the non-profitable NPAs, non-performing assets.
Sir, please to follow up, sir.
Go ahead.
No. Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Given the fact that you told that there is a problem with estimation, can you please elaborate on what estimation is these roads are used for? There are 5 approaches the government has, right? Which approach is currently problematic? Is the market approach problematic? Is that your argument?
So, certainly what I am talking about is the basic estimation of the project of how much is it going to cost. I didn't dwell into the approach. I simply said that the estimation is often goes wrong. That is all what I said. And we have seen the examples such as Ranchi Expressway where it has happened.
All right, moving on to the next speaker. Yeah, KC Venugopal. So over to you.
Oh, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Oh, okay. I guess we have discussed enough about PPP in transportation sectors. Let us discuss about the damages that these projects have done. I have 3 instances over here. In the case of New Chennai Airport, the tussle between on controlling rights became a case in point. The impeded phase while inaugurating the new Chennai Airport opens more questions than answers. And running parallel to this, corruption has no lesser a role to play either, from power companies to telecom giants. Wherever there is involvement of private companies in sync with the government, the unholy trail of corruption can be seen, decaying the best of models. Second, we have Vadodara Halol toll project, which suffered due to mistaken traffic projections, due to which proposed government incentives were stripped off from the project, thereby raising both policy and revenue risk for the involved party. Then we had another Delhi Gurgaon Expressway, which was a victim of mammoth red tapeism, where the lack of coordination of more than in the shabbiest manner possible. It was shut down for 6 months when its operator, Reliance Infrastructure, pointed out cracks that had developed on its metro pillar structure. Then followed by the typical blame game with the involved party, blaming each other for their fault. So I genuinely don't believe how this system is viable for the growth of the transportation sectors when there are so many fallacies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Are there any questions? Okay. Yeah, you could ask.
Is Mr. KC Venugopal aware of the fact that the new Chennai airport specifically has been initiated by the DMK-led government, which is in coalition with the UPA, which is the Congress party, and not with the BJP?
Yeah, we are well aware of the fact, but have you ever thought that you are in power and you have some kind of responsibility, and how this mishap happened in the first place?
Please to follow up, ma'am.
Yes.
The lands that specifically had to be allotted for the new Chennai airport at Parandur in Tamil Nadu were specifically initiated under the UPA government, post which the Tamil Nadu government had the authorities of the Tamil Nadu state government had to nodally approve the measures for it. The central government does not. So rephrasing the question again, isn't your coalition party which is causing the problem and not the central government which can be held responsible for it?
Okay, Actually, so what's the question? Like, what are you trying to ask?
So please be concise. Just ask one question.
Isn't your coalition party and its nodal authorities who are to be held accountable for it and not the central government? That is my question. Isn't your coalition party and its nodal authority to be held accountable for it and not the central
So
government?
I'm here talking about the disadvantages of PPP. We have realized it as a failed model, and the way it is being implemented is not the way it is supposed to go. That's why I gave the example of it.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah, the next speaker is Vinay Tendulkar. Over to you, sir. Mr. Vinay Tendulkar, are you there in the company? All right, seeing no response, we'll be moving on. The next speaker is Indu Goswami. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for giving me an opportunity to speak. So basically, PP and transportation is something really essential for the country, as transportation is something which leads to the really growth for the country. It is an economic and really financial aspect for the country. The advantages, as far as seen, it helps to enlargement the focus for creating an asset to deliver the service. It includes the maintenance of the infrastructural assets during its operating lifetime. This broadens the focus, creates incentives, and also it's to reduce the full life costs. I come from the state of Himachal Pradesh, where it is the land of mountains and it is blended with lushy green fields. So there's a need to connection through the small villages. So we come with the PPP model, that is the Kiratpur Manali project, which will soon be constructed. So it helps out the villages to reach it. And also many of the airlines which used to first hold the monopoly, now there are, due to PPP models, there is a competitiveness which helps the people of a country to get the best and essential services in less and less prices and with really good condition services. There are also railways. There are many of the projects which are leaded like Sagarmala, Bharatmala, and which helps the country to live and ease of life is being created.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Are there any questions? Okay, so I'll recognize Malika Arjun Kharge. Yeah, over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for the recognition. Ma'am, इंदु मैडम आपने पीपीपी मॉडल की काफी एडवोकेसी करी, लेकिन मैं इसका एक रेपरकशंस भी है जिसका रेमेडी मैं आपसे जानना चाहूंगा, कंसिडरिंग आप गवर्नमेंट में हैं। जैसा कि रांची एक्सप्रेसवे प्रोजेक्ट में देखा गया था कि काफी मेजर करप्शन हुआ था प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स द्वारा। उन्होंने बेसिकली बैंक से लोन लिया, वो चुकाया नहीं, और साथ ही साथ उस लोन में से 265 करोड़ रुपए करप्ट मीन्स से खाली। तो how what is the government planning to actually prevent such incidences in the future basically? और ये जो प्रोजेक्ट था ये शुरू हो गया था 2011 में। just ma'am, just concluding my question, ये 2011 में शुरू हुआ था और 2018 में टर्मिनेट हुआ। मतलब आपने 7 साल बेसिकली इसमें इन्वेस्ट किया और आखिर में 1100 करोड़ का देश को नुकसान हो गया। So what is the government, how is the government planning on reducing such incidents?
So basically, as you said, कि 2011 में start हुआ था. So basically, we weren't at the time of that government. And secondly, if you're talking about the corruption, so it has been worked on. We are planning for frameworks for PPP institutions to be built on, and we will be working on it.
Ma'am, please to follow up.
No, sir. Thank you so much.
Mr. Kharge, what point are you raising?
Sorry, sir, I forgot to lower my hand.
What about you, Piyush Goyal?
A point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes.
When will I get the chance to like complete my speech
You can
because
do that right away.
there was bad
You
network.
can do that right away.
Okay. So should I start from the beginning?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. For any country, development and urbanization will pose an increased demand for mobility, and hence transportation infrastructure and services are one of the most important requirements. These are best handled through public-private partnerships, as already repeatedly stated by members of my party, that through PPP, we are giving these jobs to entities which are best suited to handle them. Coming to transport infrastructure, roads and railways have been a major sector to which huge infrastructure funds have been allocated. India has the distinction of having the largest PPP program globally in the road sector. More than 560 road projects comprising of a total length of 45,000 kilometers with an estimated investment of exceeding 2 lakh crores have been awarded on PPP basis so far by the centre and various state governments. PPP can also solve the need of the bus service sector and ramp up bus services, as it is the need of the hour. It is the need of the hour because India's bus penetration is still low at about 1.4 buses per 1,000 people at a time. Railways have also been massively modernized, as my friend Ashwini Vaishnav had stated, that PPPs in railways have also been quite successful, and 14 projects in the Indian Railways worth 9,234 crores have been so far completed, and 10 more projects are under implementation, and these projects are related to port connectivity. Airports Authority of India has also leased out 8 airports for operation, management and development under public-private partnership. Now, this scheme, as all schemes, also faces certain challenges, and we are committed to solve them. We are trying to solve them through continued structural reforms like contract enforcement, clear project design, transparent procedure and dispute resolution. And as far as a member stated that revenue estimations and disparities in them have been a problem, we have been trying to implement these through technical experts, and so that the disparity in revenue estimation no longer remains a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Are there any questions? All right, I'll recognize Mallikarjun Kharge. Yeah, seeing none, over to you, sir.
Okay. मैम आपने बात करी रेलवेज की, जिसमें कि लेकिन मेरा सवाल ये है यहाँ पे कि रेलवेज का वन ऑफ द प्राइमरी ऑब्जेक्टिव्स इज वेलफेयरिज्म, कि चीप से चीप प्राइसेस में ट्रांसपोर्ट अवेलेबल कराना, और जब हम पीपीपी में प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स को इन्वॉल्व कर देते हैं तो उनका ऑब्जेक्टिव होता है कि कहीं ना कहीं से प्रॉफिट निकाला जाए. So how does the government manage, how will the government manage the increasing fair price along with making sure that the private player gets its share of the profit?
Can I answer?
Yes, sir.
So सबसे पहली बात ये है कि पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स के थ्रू हमने सारे रेलवेज को कम्प्लीटली प्राइवेटाइज नहीं किया है. अभी भी रेलवेज एग्जिस्ट करती है जो गवर्नमेंट के थ्रू कंट्रोल है, आईआरसीटीसी के थ्रू कंट्रोल है. इसीलिए मतलब ऐसा नहीं होता है कि अगर आपको रेलवेज यूज करना ही है तो आपको पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप से करने होंगे या वो आपके लिए कंपल्सरी बन जाता है. पहली बात तो ये नहीं होता है. दूसरी बात ये कि पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप्स के थ्रू प्राइवेट पार्टीज क्या प्राइसेस रखते हैं, इसकी एक लिमिट हो सकती है, और ये हम कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअली कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं और मॉनिटर कर सकते हैं. Is my answer clear to you, sir?
Yes,
thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so the next speaker is Ashok Bajpai. Over to you, sir.
Before you start, respectable chair, I have a parliamentary inquiry, a point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I wanted to ask whether we are still on the first motion, that is of transportation, or we are going to jump into the second one right away after the last speaker.
are almost three speakers left. So post that, we would be looking for further motions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank is Ashok Bajpai ji in the committee?
Yes. Can I start?
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, for recognition. Introduction of PM Gati Shakti scheme will ensure true public-private partnership in infrastructure creation from planning to development to utilization stage. It also emphasizes the use of modern technology in projects to bring 16 ministries, including roadways and railways, together. The scheme encouraged the private sector to use data available on Gati Shakti portal, which offers 400 layers of geospatial data, including information on existing and plan to develop infrastructures, highways, roads, airports, etc. The Gati Shakti will subsum rupees 11 lakh crore National Infrastructure Pipeline 2019. PM Gati Shakti will engulf infrastructure schemes of various ministries like Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, inland waterways, land, ports, Udan, etc. It will also aim in fulfilling ambitious target by 2024-2025 by expanding national highway networks to the length of 2 lakh kilometers, creation of more than 200 new airports, water, aerodromes, etc. A holistic and integrated transport connectivity strategy will greatly support Make in India and integrate different modes of transport. The multimodal connectivity will provide seamless connectivity and help India become the business capital of the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Are there any questions? All right, seeing none, we would move on to the next speaker. So the next speaker is Derek O'Brien. Over to you, sir.
Shall I begin?
Yes, sir.
As to when we speak of the PPP model, it has done great developments, and those cannot be denied. In each sector of transport, there have been definite developments, and kudos to the government for that. But the PPP model consists of such two entities which have completely different objectives. Private seeks profit and public works for the welfare. This could be conflicting amongst them. Just to clarify, such a situation can be hypothetical but is not impossible. At the end of it, all public can expect is some transparency. When the railway board had appointed these empowered secretaries for Tejas Express, no data was released in terms of the number of meetings and the discussions that had been held. When RTI activists, who are an integral part of the democracy, asked for such data, there was no data available in the railway board. So I plead to the government to please maintain a certain level of transparency so that we know what is going on in the PPP model, how it is functioning, and that's about it.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions to Mr. Derek O'Brien? Yeah. Okay, so I'll be recognizing Narasimha Rao, followed by Piyush Goyal. Over to you, sir.
May I ask a question? Okay. Sir Derek O'Brien, you talked about two things. You talked about public and how it seeks for social welfare, and private, how it seeks for profit, right? So we have known since the start of this committee that you did point out and you did instigate us and attack us for the fiscal deficit and the increase in debt, which is caused by bad social welfare policies plagued by corruption at state, local levels and other administrative levels. Number one. Number two, private projects to look out for profit, and that is why PPP model, which seeks to balance this both two, are out there. Total privatization would have led to a lot of obviously the people simply couldn't afford it. So I just want to ask you, where exactly does your party line align with? Because you also complain about the fiscal deficit and you also say profit nahi hona chahiye.
I never said कि profit नहीं होना चाहिए. I just said that how these two entities, the public and the private, are going to work out, since they have very different ideologies and principles to work on. Is there any way, any regulation, any restraint that can be, I agree, that can be controlled in a contract, but there is no transparency with the public and they are not aware of where the profits are made, where the costs are cut. And that's all my point was. And I never attacked you with the debts.
Little follow-up question, ma'am. She quoted it. That's why I can quote it. She said that. Please to follow.
Only 5 seconds, sir. Please.
Okay. So you clearly stated that there was a clear lack of regulations. There was a escaping fiscal deficit, right? Number 2. And number 3, you still didn't answer my question. Where does your party line towards?
My part. Can I please answer this through
Sure, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next speaker. The next speaker is Vivek Thakur. Over to you, sir. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. It's my. I have recognized Piyush Goyal for the question. Over to you, sir.
So, representative, first of all, it is very ironic for a member from the Trinamool Congress to talk about transparency, considering all your scams are coming to light right now. What you are saying is that PPP does not give an opportunity for transparency. But the thing is that if we have a public-private partnership, we can also have greater transparency if we design the scheme according to that. So if you like, what is your party stance? Are you opposed to the idea of PPP because it is not transparent, or if it provides greater transparency, you are with the...
I never said that PPP model is something that I am against. In fact, the first part of my speech was entirely dedicated to how PPP has been very successful, but there are some problems with the transparency, as I said, with the Tejas Express. So, and I even concluded pleading the government for the data and the transparency so that there is enough information for us to come to a consensus. So definitely I'm with PPP, but there are so many loopholes in it that we're just pleading for more transparency.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I don't think you're audible.
So am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible now.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have lapsed with the speakers list. So are we looking for any further motions?
Okay, since there were more speakers who wanted to speak in this but couldn't get recognized, is there any extension motion? Yes, Nirmala Sataraman.
For motion to extend this session by 5 more minutes.
Okay. Okay, that motion is in order. Members in favor of this motion?
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Let's have it at 6 minutes because it won't be divisible.
Okay, sir. 6 minutes.
Individual time. Okay, yes. Thank you for pointing that out. All right. Members in favor of this extension motion for 2 minutes? You have 5 more seconds to cast your vote. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. We have got about 13 votes. So this motion fails.
Sir, but wasn't I recognized as the last speaker in this session? Because but sir,
you weren't.
Sir, but since I proposed the motion, you had the discretion to recognize me.
No, so the way it works is you had the option of being the first speaker, by way of which you had a guaranteed spot. Since you left that spot, I could recognize you anywhere in the middle, but then we didn't get the opportunity to, because we had to recognize other members as well. And the extension motion just got failed, so I don't think we'll be able to accommodate you for this session. With that, are there any points on the floor? Are there any motions on the floor? Narayan Rade, followed by Hardeep Singh Puri, followed by KC Venugopal.
Okay, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Motion to start the discussion hour for discussing the second motion, which will be encouraging public-private partnership in the healthcare industry. And in this, we would have a speaker's time for 30 minutes per speaker speaking for 120 seconds, that is.
In the which sector did you say?
In the healthcare sector.
Healthcare sector.
The healthcare industry, yes.
Okay. A total time period is?
30 minutes.
Okay.
And each speaker speaking for 120 seconds.
That means 15 speakers.
Correct, sir.
All right.
And I would like to request, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Puri, please go ahead.
Honorable Chairperson, I would like to propose a motion on the topic participation of private players in healthcare, pharmaceutical and allied industries, for the total time being 30 minutes, per speaker time 2 minutes.
This is the same motion. She's talking about encouragement of PPP in healthcare sector. You're talking about participation of private players.
Essentially the same motion. It's just that it's not just healthcare, it's healthcare, pharmaceuticals and allied industries which are connected to healthcare. If you may,
it's almost same. I think healthcare involves pharma companies also.
You can merge
yeah, so yeah, we are merging the two motions. Fair enough. Mr. KC Venugopal, please go ahead. Tell me your motion.
So I would like to propose a motion for adjournment for the day.
Adjournment for the day.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sir, I explained it to you that day. What does adjournment motion mean?
I was not in the ROP session.
So you were not there in the ROP session. Okay, is there anyone in the committee who would like to explain it to him as to what adjournment motion means? किसी को याद है? Anyone? Sorry, I can't see your hand. Yes, Mr. Narayan, please tell me.
Adjournment motion is basically when you want to adjourn the house, but that is probably mostly for discussing a certain important matter of urgency or maybe public importance wise.
Correct. Mr. Venugopal, what is the matter of public importance right now?
Nothing, sir. I would like to take the motion back.
Okay, so essentially you want to end the debate for today, right? Okay. You don't want to have one more discussion hour? Is that what you're proposing?
I'm fine with it, but the end time is at 5, right? Will we be able to wrap it up by then?
See, what you can do is you can take an informal session for 2 minutes. It's 4:11. Take an informal session for 2 minutes and then decide. Until then, Until then, I have one motion in hand that is put across by Mr. Narayan Rade and Mr. Puri. Okay, that is the same motion. Participation of public-private partnership in the healthcare sector. All right. So take 2 minutes. It's 4:11.
Chairperson, there's one more thing. If the motion so passes, I wish to exercise my right to be the first speaker.
Okay,
if that is the case, I would like to go towards the end.
Didn't you notice, Mr. Narayan Rane, what happened when Nirmala Sitharaman in the previous session?
Okay, so maybe I would like to rephrase it to not
because
first.
Again, you have done. See, the problem that happened with him in the last session was that the total time period was 30 minutes and individual time period was 2 minutes. So I could only accommodate 15 speakers.
Okay.
All right. So by the time I wanted to accommodate him, we had already elapsed the list.
I see, sir.
So I didn't have an opportunity.
Could I go somewhere in the middle?
I'll try.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I just rely on your benevolence. Thank you, sir.
Okay, all of this is just hypothetical. Your motion hasn't even passed yet. Okay, so it's 4:12. Take 1 minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, let's say. Be back by 4:15. Decide what do you want to do. And Karan, don't we have high tea today?
No, sir. We'll end the session at 5.
Take 3 minutes and come back.
Guys, so my request I think there are a few people who wanted to speak but were not able to speak in that session. So we'll just have a quick rephrasing session for just 6 minutes where people who have not spoken will speak, and post that we can have reduce the per speaker time to 90 seconds, because so it is taking around 2 hours per discussion session, and I think we won't be able to complete if it's the same way.
Can do, Nirmala ji, is that we can keep a 20-minute session, let 10 speakers speak, because a lot of the people have already spoken. How many of you want to speak on this healthcare wala thing? Please raise your hands. How many people are there? 10. ठीक है, तो अगर 20 minutes है and there are 10 speakers, it's okay.
But when questions and all will be asked, it will be get like 5
it
So let's keep it a minute or 90 seconds. Let's keep it minute or 90 seconds.
Because as far as
let's
I
keep it at 90
remember.
seconds. But वो divisible नहीं होगा is the point. क्या 15 minutes रखना पड़ेगा फिर?
नहीं ना, तो वो 5 मिनट ये भी मान सकते हैं ना कि क्वेश्चन आंसर में चला गया ना, 5 मिनट तो जाएगा ही एटलीस्ट, क्वेश्चन में भी जाएगा.
Should be divisible by the individual time.
Let's do one thing, 10 speakers, 1 minute each.
No. 1 minute is just ridiculous.
1 minute में कुछ cover नहीं होगा, sir. Please.
वो salutation में 10 सेकंड
चला जाता है. Yes, I have to say thank you. फिर start करते करते तो निकल जाता है. That's no use.
Yeah, let's keep it at ideally at 2 minutes or 90 seconds.
90 seconds is also workable, but 1 minute
if it's 90 seconds, then it's 15 minutes and 10 speakers. Okay. Per speaker time of 1.5 minutes.
Considering there are only 10.
हो जाएगा, 45 minutes है.
Is there anybody who has not spoken in that particular session who had wanted to speak?
Yeah, just raise your hands this time and get recognized by Nirmal. I'm so sorry. They're there.
The point is, see, the issue was that
I got it. We all know that.
Nirmala is very well Nirmala is very well equipped and prepared for the finance
context. Nirmala is always prepared. Bhai GLC man, he just
yes.
So let's leave.
Please, that thank you.
Your hand. Yeah, 5 more seconds to cast your vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Motion fails. And I kind of know, I think, why we failed this particular session. But again, members against this motion, please raise your hand.
I'm sorry, sir. My network got disconnected. Could I be updated with the last 2 minutes of the session?
We are conducting a voting on the motion of participation of public-private partnership in the healthcare sector. Narayan Rane and Hardeep Singh Puri proposed it. So we have got 8 votes against, and we had about 13 votes. That was for 13 and 22. And what is the strength of the committee current right now?
Sir, right.
A lot of
29 members as participants and 4 are OC. So 25.
25.
Yeah.
Okay, that will essentially pass the motion. Let's conduct it again. All of you put your hands down.
Sir, point of parliamentary inquiry.
Yeah, tell me.
Then the motion that I put for extension literally passed because we had 25 by then and the 13 votes were taken.
Earlier with regards to extension.
No, it passed already because we had 13 votes and the simple majority by then was 20.
At that
moment, people in
there were 25 people.
No. Sir, I had calculated that at that time as well. There were more members in the meeting at that time. So I had made a note of that. So it wouldn't have passed either way.
I think you got the answer, sir. We'll do this voting again. 1 minute. First, let me complete this voting and then I'll get back to your query. Everyone, please put your hands down. Ms. Priyanka Chaturvedi, please do that. Thank you. Everybody in favor of the motion put across by Nirmala Sitharaman and Hardeep Singh Puri. Narayan Rane and Hardeep Singh Puri on encouragement of PPP in the healthcare sector. Please raise your hand, all those who support it. You have got 5 seconds to cast your vote. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 11 votes. Everyone, put your hands down. All those against. You've got 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 9 votes. 11 and 9, 20. 5 people are still not voting. फिर से हाथ नीचे करो. This is the last time we are doing it, otherwise I'll fail this motion.
So wouldn't the whip thing come in here?
Yeah, now you are expecting me to explain the whip also at the end of the day. Okay, okay. No, whip, I don't think here will come up. See, first of all, we need to understand the concept of whip, right? A whip in this particular committee, just like a leader of opposition, hasn't been appointed. All right. If you wanted anyone to be a whip for these 2 days, you should have sent me a notice. All right. Which I haven't received.
In the session when you were explaining the procedure, you said you would clarify it on the first day.
I forgot. You could have reminded me. If you wanted to send a notice for that, you could have reminded me. I could have explained it to you, but don't worry. Today, I don't think we will be able to have this. I'm explaining the concept to you. All right. Tomorrow in the morning, you can send me the notice, and for the remainder of the conference, you can do that. All right. I'm sorry, I forgot. Now, so far as the concept of whip is concerned, every party can issue a whip in the committee. Okay. For example, BJP says if there is a consensus and mutual understanding, obviously it is not basis the mutual understanding. It is always done by the head of the party. If let's say Piyush Goyal is serving as a head right now, any other member who is in BJP and is in the committee right now? Hardeep Singh Puri, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So let's say Hardeep Singh Puri is appointed as the whip in the committee, and if at any given moment the members of BJP go against the instruction of Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri, then defection can be exercised. All right. We've got anti-defection law not only in Lok Sabha, but even in Rajya Sabha. And it has been exercised before in the actual world. All right. But here the situation is that people are not voting and we do not have a whip. So there cannot be exercise of an anti-defection law in the committee right now. However, we'll have the voting conducted one last time. Members willing to vote, Adila, Karan, Tanaya, please take a note of those people who are not voting and tell me who these people are. Okay? Karan, you're here, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, Karan, Tanaya, please do that. Members willing to support this motion, that is participation of public-private partnership in healthcare and allied sectors, raise your hand now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. No more variation. Please don't do anything now. Karan, note kar.
एक सेकंड सर 12 वोट्स we had, अभी 11 हो गए.
हाँ कोई तो करेगा ये हमेशा. But just take a photo of it.
हाँ जी, एक
of the participant section.
Yep, done.
Done? ठीक है. All right. Hands down, please. Hands down, please. Vivek Thakur, Mansukh Mandavya, thank you. All those against, please raise your hand. हाँ, आप सब बराबर वोट कर रहे हैं. एक आदमी है जो अभी भी वोट नहीं कर रहा है. उस आदमी का नाम जानना है मुझे. ठीक है. 24. अरे यार, वोट करना है. इमोजीज नहीं चाहिए मुझे. ठीक है. Hands down, please. Okay. So motion clearly fails. It's 4:25. I don't think we'll be able to take one more discussion hour now. So it's better that you guys discuss as to what you guys want to do tomorrow. I'll explain you the concept of resolution. So in case if you want to have a paperwork tomorrow, you can do that. Also, I think there are few members in the committee who have not spoken. Karan, could you please prepare the list of those members who have not spoken even once and get back to me? Couple, Tanaya and Karan.
Yes,
Until
sir.
then, I'll just explain them the procedure of resolution. All right. Now, so far as resolution is concerned, or paperwork in this committee is concerned, we usually have papers. That is some kind of bill, all right? If it is a money bill that goes in Lok Sabha, not here. So since we do not have a bill, we have an abstract idea on which we are, making our entire deliberation. Therefore, what we can go for is a resolution. What resolution is? A resolution essentially is an opinion, right? It is undertaken so that we can record as to what the committee has deliberated upon, or if we require approval or disapproval of the committee or on the house on a particular matter. There is some XYZ matter on which we as parliamentarians want to record the approval of the Rajya Sabha or the disapproval of the Rajya Sabha. In that case, we can move forward with a resolution. All right. We can also do that if you want to call attention of a particular ministry or the government on a matter or a situation. We want the government to consider something. All right. Now, once a particular member who has proposed the resolution comes up, except if he wishes to withdraw it, then the member will come, present his resolution, and thereafter, if let's say a particular ministry is involved in that particular situation, let's say Kapil Sibal is calling attention of a particular ministry or the entire government on a particular situation, whichever the concerned ministry is, will intervene and try to give a reply to the mover of that particular resolution. So we can recognize members and take, the opinion of the government on that. Not necessarily we need to have voting on the resolution. However, the mover of the resolution gets to decide whether he wants a decision to be taken on the resolution. If not, there will be no decision. It will be just accepted as a resolution being proposed by one particular individual as his opinion. If he pushes for a decision on the resolution, then I, as the chairman of the house, I will take a decision of the house, and subsequently, if it passes, then that becomes an opinion of this entire sitting that has been into existence for the past 2 days. Any doubt?
नॉर्मल पार्लियामेंट की टाइमिंग्स क्या रहती है? 10 से 5 रहती है। क्या टाइमिंग्स थी इसकी? 10 से 5।
Any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Puri and Dwivedi, please. Mr. Puri, bataiye.
Sir, like in UN committees, we have clauses in resolution, right? Do we need to add
That
them?
is a completely different resolution. The resolution that we have in UN committees, that is completely different.
Okay.
That is a major documentation of the UN committee, and as to how their resolution not only records what has been discussed in the committee, but also how they intend to resolve that matter. So that is why they have operative clauses, right? Here, the resolution does not have a format at all. It's a document to record the opinion of the house. All right. So it's not like the document has any binding value. It's not a bill. It's not a document that is backed by any statute. It's just an informal document showcasing the opinion of the committee. And the entire, and if it passes. However, let's say you as Harding Puri come up with the resolution, and if you do not want any kind of voting to happen on it, that will be accepted as a resolution put across by Hardeep Singh Puri and will be accepted as his full opinion. Got it? Seema ji, bataiye.
So if we propose a resolution, can we do it together rather than only one particular person proposing it within the committee?
See, usually by procedure, what happens is that it has to be a particular member in whose name a resolution will stand on the list of business. Okay. And then only when a resolution has been moved or has been tabled, people are allowed to vote on it or essentially give statements on it. However, in here, if you feel that, collectively it's your decision, as in, let's say 4-5 people or the entire committee for that matter, what you can do is one member can propose it, but you can just inform me that it is a collective decision, and I'll take that into consideration.
Okay, so we can mention suppose in a UN resolution, there are authors, co-authors, there are signatories. So there can be one person as an author, then another 2 people and other 3 people who are supporting the motion. The minimum 3 people are required.
Just be very careful. The resolution in UN committee is completely different. Remove the idea of resolution that you have of UN committees. Here, the resolution is completely different. It does not have authors. It just has one member who proposes it, which in a layman terms makes him the author. There is no concept of signatory. All right. We do not require minimum 3 people to support it. Okay? And here it has no binding value. It is an opinion. Okay?
All right, Chair, thank you.
Yeah. Indu Bala Goswami.
Sorry, but can you just repeat the concept of resolution? I missed that part.
Okay. In brief, resolution is a form of opinion that is proposed by one particular member. Once he proposes it, it moves on to the list of business. We discuss it. In case he presses for voting, we go for voting. And in case the resolution is passed by simple majority in the entire house, what happens is that that particular resolution is accepted as the opinion of the entire house for this particular sitting. Or if it fails, then it becomes the resolution and opinion of the mover. Let's say if Hardeep Singh Puri proposes it, then it becomes the opinion of Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri only and only. All right, that's pretty much it about resolution. What all can you bring up in resolution? What we have discussed, how you wish to resolve it, or if there is a particular thing that is happening and you want the government to take that into consideration, factor any emergency situation, whatever you think you want to include in it, you want to. However, things have to be very precise. If you include vague or ambiguous thing in the resolution, that then it will not move forward. All right. And just keep one thing in mind, that substantially it can involve only one definite issue. If you're talking about public-private partnership, then you can talk only about public-private partnership. You cannot bring more than one issue in one resolution. So I hope I have made myself clear in this. And also, yeah, things go without saying. Any matter that is is in the courts, that cannot come up. All right. Yeah. Indu Bala Goswami, please. I think I just clarified your doubt, right? Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Or we are done for the day?
Oh, so are we going to have a question tomorrow?
We are going to have what?
Question hour?
No question hour. We'll directly proceed to the legislative business.
So it will go on from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.,
I don't know what the itinerary is. That will have to be checked with the OC. Okay, yeah, but we'll become. I don't know when we are going to end, but when we are going to start is, let's say, 10. Yeah, 10:15. Yeah. So Taramanji.
Sir, can I proceed with my speech that you told, like the people who have not spoken, the list had to be made. So can I?
No. You completely misinterpreted me. Okay. So what I meant was, those members who have not spoken in the entire day, I want to know who these people are, so that I can convince them to give a statement tomorrow. Not like who couldn't get an opportunity to speak in that session, but have already spoken a lot of times since morning. So nice trick that you tried, but sorry, you failed. Yes, Mr. Mandavya, please tell me.
So, with all due respect, we still have some time left, and I guess we can still accommodate a few
Yeah,
speakers.
we can.
So,
but the motion was put across, it failed. So how do you expect me to allow or permit people to speak?
At your discretion, given the fact that the chairman
I don't have a discretion to come up with own self motion and then just propose it by my own self. That is not possible. That does not happen. And any which way, now 15 minutes are left. Yeah.
And we give it a vote again.
Us to conduct a voting again on a failed motion.
We are having 13 minutes in the interest of larger public national importance. Yes, you can.
Point here. The larger public means 50% plus one people, right?
if 50% plus one people considering larger public interest wanted to discuss it, they had the opportunity to do so. But now, if you want me to do that, sorry, now I can't do that.
Sir,
Or you can rephrase the motion and then come up again for 10 minutes. But for that, instead of trying to convince me, you'll have to convince other members to support that particular motion.
So can you give us a couple of minutes so that we can come on a consensus for
I
that?
just raised my hand for that.
Yeah, it's 4:40. Now you have
Please go ahead.
the entire.
We only have 20
you have
minutes.
20 minutes of this session plus पूरी शाम में आपके पास you discuss, you decide whatever you want to do. Come back in the morning at 10:15 and then we'll take up.
Okay,
your
so you're not
motions.
taking any motion.
Okay, sir.
Only 20 minutes are left. There's no point.
But if we propose a motion for 10 minutes,
Yes,
like including one question, maybe that'll happen, right?
Obviously,
You
sir.
just want to squeeze us dry. Okay, theek hai, chalo. 20 minutes are left. You have 2 minutes. Decide what you guys want to do.
Thank you, sir. Guys, so can we like propose a motion for discussion on the topic proposed by me and Hardeep Singh Puri, or for like, but we'll amend the timing to 10 minutes of
Narayanji,
discussion.
I don't think so. It's a good choice. We can rephrase and put it up for discussion tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, then I
It
find
is
likewise
very-
as well.
it is a
Like,
very
half of
important
us are
topic,
sleepy right now.
and I feel even the opposition will have their own fish to fry, especially when it comes
Exactly.
to
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it would be nice that if we keep the motion tomorrow, we begin morning afresh, and we hope that even the opposition people
I hope so,
vote
yeah.
for us.
Because
I just
it's
have one
kind of
thing.
a very important.
Yeah, I just have one thing. Can we have a minimum like 5-6 minute session on that transportation to people who did
What
not?
do you want to discuss, Nirmala?
See, the
ji?
point-
It has already been discussed by 15 speakers. There were questions.
I think
there.
transportation has been dragged just very
No,
long
I'm
enough.
keeping
Let's just
it
get
for
done.
4 minutes. I'm keeping it for 4 minutes.
Just
So only
keep
we
it for
will
2
speak
minutes
with
and you
people.
speak.
That is fine.
Okay, fine. If that's not a problem, I'll keep it for 2 minutes. Is it okay?
If
don't know
the
if
speaker,
it approved
if
by
the
this
speaker
chair.
approves, then yeah.
Why are we
And I don't know
dragging
if
the chair
this so
approves.
long? We have already decided what are we going to discuss today, and
Uh,
we have
see,
discussed the healthcare sector.
let's
Let's end this now.
see.
20 minutes.
See,
point is-
there are two things here. There is motion of Nirmala Sitharaman ji. Let's just discuss that with NDA and allies, and there are then the subsequent motions जो larger committee पूरा discuss कर सकती है.
But I think इतने कम time में
नहीं,
उस चीज को हम सही से
देखो,
redress कर नहीं पाएंगे.
Nirmala ji, if you can understand that the transportation thing has been discussed for by 15 speakers, questions we take, can we just leave it
See,
at
I think-
that?
yeah,
And-
I got your point. The point is over that see, we have discussed the minute part of transportation sector. Now you get into the facts that were addressed by certain opposition people regarding the model concession agreement and per se the legislative framework which deals with it. There is they have subtly framed it in a way where it gives a picture to the public who are watching this discussion in the parliament today that the government's current existing measures don't happen. So the points that were made now, like regarding the estimation of a project. Now there is capex approach, there is book value approach, there is market approach. That there are different approaches for these programs. That is a subtly misleading thing that goes to the people who are watching this session, which is
Just
obviously
make
the people.
Listen, just make a press release and send it. Because if we pass a whole new motion just for that, just to clarify facts, and there are no point of orders as you mentioned.
Yeah,
for
that's why I'm
facts.
asking. See, since we do not have
Hi. 2 minutes are over. Status report, please. Anyone? Mr. Sitharaman?
The status report is we decided that the motions that we had with respect to health or the discussions, we will proceed with it tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning I'll
Yeah.
rephrase and propose it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
It'll get
I think
and the
I think
subsequent
if you
motions will be
if you all
discussed
may,
with the greater committee.
I think if you all may, I would like to propose the motion for health being
हाँ
being
ठीक है.
allotted that portfolio.
कल कर देना.
I think it is befitting for that.
Morning.
Big surprise. We are discussing it tomorrow. Okay. Mr. Manmohan Singh and Mr. Sharad Pawar. मनमोहन सिंह जी, आप हैं कमेटी में?
बहुत चुप रह रहे हैं सर आजकल.
अरे अब तो सोनिया गांधी भी नहीं है कमेटी में, अब क्यों चुप रह रहे हैं?
Health reasons, I guess, sir.
आपको बड़ा पता है उनकी हेल्थ के बारे में।
सर मिनिस्ट्री वही है ना।
अच्छा